Ukrainian troops have regained initiative near Kupiansk in Kharkiv region, driving Russian forces back to the city's northern edges, Viktor Tryhabov, head of communications for the joint forces, said during a television broadcast on Wednesday. Ukrainian forces have established a powerful kill zone that blocks the movement of Russian reinforcements, despite ongoing Russian propaganda claims that the city has already fallen. Furthermore, the official denied Russia media reports about the fall of the city. Tryhabov explained that Kupiansk has played a significant symbolic role in Russian propaganda machine, with Russian military leaders attempting to present events there as a major success. As part of his propaganda, Russian side in early November even released false statements claiming the city had been seized and Ukrainian troops surrounded. Putin began telling stories that Kupiansk was already captured, but this had no connection to reality. In fact, the situation was developing in the completely opposite direction, he explained. According to Tryhabov, Ukrainian forces pushed Russian troops into the northern districts, disrupted their supply routes, and systematically destroyed their units. While Moscow was reporting victories, its troops were actually being drawn into a trap on the battlefield. He added that the Russians are unable to move reinforcements effectively into the Kupiansk sector. A highly effective kill zone was created around the city, allowing us to eliminate anyone trying to crawl forward using drones. No matter how many reinforcements they bring, they still have to cross open terrain, and the drone does not care how many of them are crawling, Tryhabov said. Commenting on the situation in Vovchansk, the official said it is almost completely destroyed. The evolving situation around Kupiansk illustrates a broader shift in war momentum, with Ukrainian forces steadily improving their tactical position while Russian units struggle to maintain their positions under constant surveillance and fire.
The Ukrainian armed forces are amassing a powerful strike force of approximately 10,000 troops in Sumy Oblast, primarily through fresh mobilization. MASH channel reports, citing intelligence data. The troop transfer is taking place against the backdrop of possible Russian-Ukrainian peace talks, which may indicate Kiev's attempt to strengthen its position ahead of a potential dialogue. According to sources, Russian intelligence is recording a major regrouping. Ukrainian units are moving from the near rear to the Kyiv-Cohen line. The presumed goal is to dislodge Russian forces from Sumy Oblast and create a threat of an offensive on Kursk Oblast. Since May, the Ukrainian side has been preparing a bridgehead for a potential counterattack in this area. Not only infantry units, but also 3 mechanized brigades of the Ukrainian armed forces and 4 battalions of drone operators are concentrated in the area, indicating a possible reliance on the massive use of UAVs. Ukrainian forces have already attempted to break through 3 times in the Yunakovka-Varachino sector, but all attacks have been unsuccessful. According to Russian military data, the Ukrainian army continues to search for weak points in the defenses, but Force Group North is repelling attacks from all directions, maintaining control of populated areas within the combat zone. Recently, air assault forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine said that anti-aircraft units struck the 80th Halichina Brigade in the Sumy region overnight and stopped them dead in their tracks. They were crossing the border and were moving into Ukrainian positions, they added. The enemy thought at night it would not be noticed, but it was wrong and was destroyed. State Border Guard Service of Ukraine announced that FPV drone task force of the State Border Guard Service destroyed the enemy's shelter and firing position on the southern front. The FPV reconnaissance raid began with the elimination of enemy personnel and the destruction of the enemy shelter, State Border Guard Service of Ukraine said. It is noted that the border guards also struck Russian artillery and destroyed the enemy firing position. This operation demonstrates the effectiveness of using FPV drones for reconnaissance and neutralizing the enemy along the southern stretch of the border. The results of the 4-year war against Ukraine have been disastrous for Russia. The main objectives have been failed. This is the conclusion reached by the well-known Russian Z blogger Maxim Kalashnikov. He is confident that the war is entering a freeze phase, as Russia is no longer in a position to continue it due to the looming economic disaster. Active negotiations on a peace plan also indicate that the hot phase of aggression will soon end. The war has come to a standstill. No matter what the terms of the ceasefire are in a number of areas, we have already lost, Kalashnikov wrote. He recalled the failure of the Blitzkrieg in February 2024, which led the Russian Federation to a long and very bloody war of attrition. A long, bloody slaughter prevented his greatest fear, the recreation of the Russian Empire, wrote a distraught Z patriot. He added that the Sea of Blood had divided Ukrainians and Russians, and the remnants of pro-Russian sentiment in Ukraine had vanished. Bandera himself never even dreamed of such a thing, Kalashnikov wrote. He also recalled that the territories of eastern Ukraine captured by the Russian Federation turned out to be uninhabitable as a result of the war. The port of Novorossiya, occupied by Russia, has become a zone of ruins, devastation, criminalization, and humanitarian catastrophes. Should I remind you what's happening to Donetsk regarding water supplies and other issues? The new republics have been transformed into depressed territories, wrote the Russian ultra-patriot. From this carnage, he noted, Russia is emerging economically and industrially exhausted, having lost its influence in the world. Russia is teetering on the edge of economic collapse as a result of systematic Ukrainian strikes on oil refineries, a Russian propagandist has warned. Maxim Kalashnikov admitted the attacks are no longer sporadic, but a systematic campaign aimed at shattering Russia's economy. He said, the war is now waged not for the complete destruction of the Russian Federation, of course, but its collapse, highlighting a 17% disruption in refining capacity. The fuel crisis was deepening, with the voices of those advocating rationed consumption growing louder, Kalashnikov explained. He added, I can state that the situation is deteriorating, underscoring the severity. Kalashnikov added, Ukraine's strategy targeting critical infrastructure like the Druzhba pipeline and Blue Stream exploits Russia's vulnerability, pushing the nation towards an unprecedented economic crisis. The insider's fear of collapse echoes through the halls of power, signaling a turning point in the conflict. Ukraine's strategy of targeting Russian oil refineries has significantly impacted Russia's energy sector, aiming to disrupt its economic lifeline. Kalashnikov stated outright that even in the event of temporary territorial gains, Russia will not be able to achieve its main goal, returning Ukraine to its orbit. Instead, the aggression has led to a final rift between the peoples and increased international isolation of Moscow.